John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
You remember where I said how I was going to explain about life, buddy? Well, the thing about life is, it gets weird. People are always talking to you about truth. Everybody always knows what the truth is, like it was toilet paper or something, and they got a supply in a closet. But what you learn as you get older is there ain't no truth. All there is bullshit. Pardon my vulgarity here. Layers of it. One layer of bullshit on top of another. And what you do in life, like when you get older, is you pick the layer of bullshit you prefer, and that's your bullshit, so to speak. You got that?
No.
Well, it's complicated. Maybe when you go to college. You're gonna go to college, right? You gotta go to college. I got it all fixed up. Your mom and I want you to go. Now listen, Joey. What I'm gonna tell you now is off the record, okay? You know what that means. It means that don't leave this room. Or whatever it is. Sue. Strict confidence, right?
A pilgrim, of course, is on a journey with a purpose, not just wandering idly. A pilgrimage can be to a place or for a thing, and mine happens to be for a thing. Now, it covers the whole peace picture. It's for peace. Peace among nations, peace among groups, even peace with our environment. But most always I talk about peace among individuals, and the very, very important inner peace, I talk about that the most. Now, my subject is really human potential. Most people only scratch the surface of their real potential. They have no idea what they're capable of. I started out 25 years ago on this pilgrimage. On the back of my short tunic, it says 25,000 miles on foot for peace. And that makes a lot of contacts for me. On the front, it gives my name, Peace Pilgrim. And in 1964, I had finished counting the 25,000 miles, and I stopped counting, although I didn't stop walking. I have no visible means of support. This is part of a pilgrimage. I haven't got any money, and I don't even accept any money, and I don't belong to any organization, and I don't own anything except what you see. This is me and my only earthly possession sitting in this chair. I walk until given shelter, fast until given food. I don't even ask. It's given without asking. You know, people are good. There's a spark of good in everybody, no matter how deeply it may be buried. And of course, a pilgrim walks not only prayerfully, but as an opportunity to contact people. My short tunic makes my contacts for me. People are curious or interested. They stop and talk. And it's the kindest way to make contacts. It's the most effective way to make contacts. Let them approach you. And I often have an opportunity to share my peace message with them, which says in a single sentence, this is the way of peace. Overcome evil with good, and falsehood with truth, and hatred with love. Good sound psychology. Whenever it's used, it works.
Mm-hmm. What led you to decide upon this pilgrimage? Anything? When did you?
I had a 15-year preparation period. Yes, it wasn't in walking or speaking. It was inner preparation. Mm-hmm. My preparation for the pilgrimage began in earnest about 40 years ago when I came out of my meaningless life of money and things and started to live to give instead of to get. At that point, my life blossomed out. I attained the great blessing of good health. It's wonderful. I haven't had an ache or a pain or a cold or a headache for 40 years. And from that time on, I have known that my life work was going to be work for peace. And from that time on, I was engaged in another growing up. Now, I had already done the physical growing up long ago. And I had done the mental growing up. I had sufficient knowledge to get along, and I could make my own decisions. I had done the emotional growing up. I could get along with people and with myself. But at that point, 40 years ago, I started what I have come to call a spiritual growing up or a psychological growing up. It takes you from the self-centered life, or the life governed by the self-centered nature, into the life governed by the nature which is centered in the good of the whole, which sees you as a part of the whole and works for the good of the whole, which sees that you're a cell in the body of humanity, that every cell, every human being has, well, equal importance, equal potential, although in varied stages of growth, because we choose how much growing we do, and a job to do in the total scheme of things. That was my preparation for the pilgrimage. It took 15 years.
Now, I know some comments have been made this week that you are living the laws of the universe. You're facing reality. Would you like to comment further on that?
Well, of course. Naturally, I'm living.
See, oftentimes people think reality is what I can see and touch and feel.
Well, worse than that, they think if you're a realist, what you're doing is living by the dictates of the self-centered nature.
Right.
And I would say that this isn't being a realist. This is only doing a tiny bit of the growing that you're able to do. If you're a realist, you live up to the highest light you have, which makes you an idealist. So you see, I don't see that they're that far apart.
Well, I think where we get hung up in society, we say that which is material is real, I can touch, it's tangible. I think what you're saying is that which is enduring is real. That which has eternal value is real. Now, why, and I don't want to get into to an area that it would take a lot of time, but why do you feel that this track of thinking and thought, the eyes may blind us and the ears may deafen us, what was the creative purpose of this? In other words, having to find that real self, having to find discipline and all. It seems like it's difficult because the easy way is the way of material sensory experience.
Well, of course, that the self-centered nature identifies with the body and with material things, you see. It's only as you transcend the self-centered nature that you get beyond identifying with the body and with material things. So it's quite natural in the beginning to feel this way. But when you're getting into college and when you're studying philosophy or something like that, why, it is possible to realize that in most essentials, actually, being a realist is living up to the highest light you have, just as being an idealist is. The only difference is there is some validity to saying that if you are a realist, you understand that growing takes time, you see, and you're willing to have the time and the patience for the growing, whereas if you are an idealist, you sometimes want it to go just like that, you see. Now, there is validity, perhaps, in saying a thing like that. But I would think that if you grow enough, you would come to the point where you see that there's only one thing that's real in this universe. Of course, I would say God is real. And within you, it is only the higher nature that is real. Even the self-centered nature can be transcended. And the body certainly is very transient.
So you're saying that to realize the real person, we have got to aspire toward the perfection and really the idealism. The ideal is to become what we're capable of becoming,
yes,
which requires effort and requires a journey in goals, but perhaps the enjoyment, fulfillment of life is in that journey and in that discovery.
Why, of course, what are we here for? But to learn and grow. This is our purpose for being here. The earth is a school. And so do all the learning and growing you possibly can, and do all the serving, the giving that you possibly can.
And you think this applies to everybody? Everybody's here to serve.
Oh, of course.
And to help one another.
Of course we are. Why, we're cells in the same body of humanity. We all sink or swim together. The lessons on the outer level that we need to learn are the lesson of the non-killing of human by human and the lesson of sharing. You see, these are obviously our lessons. And I believe that things are much better than they were when I started. When I started, people accepted war as a necessary part of life, whereas now I'm on the popular side. When I started, there was little interest in the inner search, whereas now there is an almost universal interest in the inner search, which to me is the most hopeful sign of all.
Hello again.
Colonel, it's nice to see you, but I'm afraid I can't offer you any more insight into future events. These medicines dull my mind.
That's all right. That's not why I came. Although I did want to ask you a few questions about your visions, if you feel up to it.
Of course.
Have you ever been wrong?
No.
Knowing how events play out, you haven't been able to change the future or avoid it?
I'm afraid not.
What about the culling on your planet?
I did not see a culling. Merely the Wraith ships arriving, and that is exactly what happened. Dr. McKay's vision happened as he saw it. But his interpretation was incorrect.
Pretty hard to misinterpret what I saw.
I make no judgments, but I do know it will come to pass.
It's hard for me to accept that. You're telling me that the future is predetermined, but I have always believed that the future is what you make it.
Perhaps both are true. Perhaps the future is predetermined by the character of those who shape it. One thing has been clear to me from the moment I set foot in the city. The galaxy is at a crossroads. Never before have I sensed that the future of so many worlds can turn on the actions of so few.
A king must marry after all. So it seems.
I love her. If only she'd be my queen. Merlin, can you make her love me?
Now look, I once stood exposed to the dragon's breath so that a man could lie one night with a woman. It took me 9 moves to recover and all for this lunacy called love, this mad distemper that strikes down both beggar and king. Never again. Never.
Who will I marry then? You can tell me that at least. What do you see? Huh?
Oh, Guinevere. And a beloved friend who will betray you. Guinevere. You're not listening. Your heart is not. Love is deaf as well as blind. That's it. You have a land to quell before you can start all this hair pulling and jumping about.
I've made these only for you. I've mixed into them things that will heal you. Not too quickly. And they'll make you a little sleepy, so you can't escape.
What's in them?
It's an ancient mixture. Soft, unborn grains, flavored with rose petals. The rest is secret.
Looking at the cake's like looking at the future. Until you've tasted it, what do you really know? And then, of course, it's too late. Too late.
Hey guys, it's Hodge here, Infinite Potential Healing and Servant of Truth, and if you've been following me recently, I've been owning my power sort of thing. Crocodile, Star-Lord, Wolverine, Aladdin, Dundee, just being an example of owning our power and being okay to accept it, and it's not egotistic or anything like that. It's actually up to us to own our power and things like that. So if that's a example for you to see yourself in a different way, where being a pain in the butt, sort of, not being a pain in the butt, but just being okay to accept yourself and see how amazing we are. Where I see you, me, everyone here is we're the galactic last mimsies, so we're superstars on the galactic level, just having a little human experience and doing our best to endure everything going on and stuff. So if you're going through trouble and having a tough time, and it's today sort of thing, I've had a few people that have been in a fair bit of trouble reach out and help, and just remind them of many things about themselves, where a lot of people are sort of subtly not able to self-actualize that they are amazing and stuff. So the last few videos I've done are Infinite Potential Healing 1 and 2, and just recently Galactic Special Forces Part 7, which I said there's a Part 8 that I've sort of been working on, but I thought I'd add this video in the mix. So whether it's a multi-dimensional level to the 3D Madness Part 13 or some new theme, which it may be, I'm not sure yet. What I wanted to do is actually give you a big fundamental of what I assumed probably a lot of people, I thought, were getting and operating with a basis of in order to do what they're doing, but I'm actually getting that I've actually left a really massive gap in all I do and what I know, because I've done all the hard yards for 10 years, you know, like making my Conscious Explorer series, which was thousands and thousands of hours, and doing all the videos for Andrew and stuff like that, which were tens of 5, 10, 15, 20,000 hours of work and stuff. So never doing any shortcuts. Maybe you didn't notice, but I went and just for all the videos I did with Andrew, I went and saw 65,000 images. So that's a lot of effort. All right. Have you ever tried to maybe go and try and get 100 images on a theme, like on a focus? See how long it takes you. So imagine 65,000. All right. So what I'm wanting to do is try not to be too long, but just explain my methodology and one of the fundamentals I operate, because I think this will be a big conscious Tetris clip, if you know what I mean. It will help a lot of people. So I've employed that conscious Tetris clip quite a bit, and yeah, in order for me to do the Galactic Special Forces work that I've offered, because I took on board what other people said is I shouldn't put that out there because you'll get tracked back and all this sort of shit. I realized I was taking on board their fear, and I don't need that. I'm not worried about that. I actually have a very high level appreciation of all the variables going on. I'm actually not against anything going on. This is like a spiritual philosophy sort of attitude that I have. So I do that work when I'm called in, but I'm actually more just being like a galactic sort of babysitter for all the bullshit going on, and letting people resolve all their stuff, and actually letting people also undermine me and fuck me up, because I'm actually allowing their potential for karma resolution being played out. It's like, what don't I know? So I get messed up a lot, but I end the karmic cycle for allowing that and move on, and I trust my ability, my innate genius and innate ability to get myself out of problems and stuff like that I'm in. Like my fundamental was an IT engineer. I went in and solved the problems that no one else could solve, and was the last resort. So problem solving was a massive thing of what I did, and I got paid a lot of money for it. So when I got into spirituality and stuff, that's what I do with my algorithms. I load up all the information and data and then get this spit out of the variable at the time. So that's just a bit of my mechanics, and I'm offering this because a lot of you actually probably do it innately and you don't know it. So if I mechanicalize it, you can actually focus on it and then employ it yourself. Because when you don't know, it's a passive thing. When you actually sense it and see it, you actually can engage it at a higher level and really focus it like a muscle, like develop the specific muscle and stuff. So what I'm wanting to do here, this is a pretty high, big, broad overview of an assumption that I always operate with, that I think a lot of you won't really get unless I sort of say it, because it's bringing in a lot of the information that I did with Andrew and stuff like that. So if I just step back a bit, I want to offer a lot of where we're at now and why things from my perspective are the way they are in the reality, because I think there's a lot of fear from the system of how we're going to react to certain stuff, and a lot of their actions are driven by the polarized fear and reaction to understanding a lot of what's been going on, so they're trying to suppress it, and I'm very compassionate for that. I don't think, if I tune into the system and stuff like that, and if I've done a lot of shit to someone, and we're in a karmic universal karma resolution system, and you create karma to maintain yourself like it's your nourishment, the way I see it, you gradually get backed into a corner until the pressure's on and stuff like that. So the way I see it is, I'm going to offer this information for it to be a relief valve of all these variables, alright? So while I seem very polarized and focused in one aspect, like the Galactic Special Forces is definitely, I see us as like the galactic janitors, alright? We clean up the worst shit that's out there, and we just come in and clean it up. So while I hold us at a high level, it's just like galactic mess, clean up, and we move on and stuff like that. So this is a big stinking pile of crap metaphor, and we're all here and we know it. Sorry for that visceral sort of reaction, I'll just get to the point. But so there's all this unresolution going on, and somehow this has all got to resolve. The system is sort of backing itself into the corner, needing to do karma, when resolution is it's the outcome. So a lot of what's going in society, in my attitude at the moment, is the doubling down to create the control and all that sort of stuff. And the way I see the compression of maintaining control, like I've described in the recent videos, is like when you pressure when you pressure a balloon and stuff, like there's a distortion. So what I'm wanting to do here is offer relief to the distortion. If you've sensed I might be polarized about things and stuff, I'm actually not. I'm actually very, very neutral and offering a way out. So if you listen to some of the Galactic Special Forces early on, like we were giving the space for species to clear themselves, and if they came back at us and they weren't willing to do it because they weren't willing to face their stuff, like for instance in Galactic Special Forces Part 4 with Nikki, it's like we, basically recycled a whole species back to a single cell. I've mentioned this person I call Audrey, relative to Audrey Hepburn in A Roman Holiday. She's here and she's out there. And when I did months of healing with her and the species that were trying to eject her from her body to take over her body with her codes and ability to portal in sort of a fleet to do an invasion here, they got ejected from the universe and stuff. So when I'm needed to do all that, like many of you out there that probably doing it in the background, we do it. But the idealist approach is we want resolution. So what I'll do is try and step back a bit. So the other thing is my information that I offer. I'll just show you an image that I just drew quick. Say this top level, alright? This is me in a multi-dimensional level, because if I'm adding this to the multi-dimensional level, to the 3D madness, say it's a bit of an oxymoron saying that the multi-dimensional perception of what I'm trying to offer is all linear, because it's not linear up there, right? But if you look at the line down the bottom, maybe they're all the offerings of my multi-dimensional method to the madness, 3D madness sort of things, and they're a bit scattered and unordered, alright? And that's the way I sort of operate. What I do is allow what comes up to be offered, and then I'll offer it when it does, and I'm not pressuring myself to be in order or anything like that. I see all these these individual videos as components to a bigger picture, and the data download, which I mentioned in part 9 and 10, I think, which were all about the memory and stuff. So I'm investing all this into giving you the data to have a like a resource in your body, so you can call in and get the fundamentals and stuff. So if you have potential to work with womb chakras, like I said in Infinite Potential 2 and 1, and work with Earth on a high level, if you do the healing and stuff, then perhaps this is all an investment for that future potential that you have, alright? So just see that I'm just offering each video as a separate teaching, but overall there's a method to my madness as well, and that's why I say it's multi-dimensional method to the 3D madness, because the 3D doesn't add up, a bit like this as well, but there is a logic and a fundamental there. So what do I want to offer here? I want to give a very broad overview of how I assume, like, say assumption of data and knowledge and stuff. Like doing the Galactic Special Forces level work, I've got to have a really good appreciation of certain things that are going on and stuff. And yeah, I don't think many people can actually really get what is. So what do I want to do here? Alright. I need to sort of, how do I bring a lot of information in a very short way? like this is sort of an exact summary of, to give you a basis of some information that I take on as an assumption, which is a foundation to launch from. So if you're building a house, all right, if you build it on sand, the foundations are very insecure, and the house will crumble. So in order to do sort of the high level work and understanding of the reality and see the pattern recognition and do the Galactic Special Forces work, which you have to have a solid information foundation to base your actions on. Alright, so what I'm wanting to do is basically given a foundational sort of information that a lot of you can process, and then what I'm feeling is that a lot of you will get the conscious Tetris sort of ahas, you know, like what Richard Allen Miller said in that magic clip in Galactic Special Forces Part 7, is if I give you this sort of overall concept, it will help a lot of you put a lot of pieces into place. And then what I suggest you do is you actually go back through my multi-dimensional method series and stuff and just revisit stuff and see what fits into place in the conscious Tetris potential that you all have, alright? So what I'm going to do is show you a very, very simple image that's condensed down to indicate or show a very broad timeline sort of thing of a stepping down of our dimensional level of the reality to what we're here now, and why there might be certain medical things that are done now to sort of prevent stuff. And this particular video, you know, I've done a lot with Andrew and stuff like that, so a lot of the information I gained over a very long period came from, you know, exploring many different people. And when I get into the etheric implant sort of video, I'm hoping to include clips of a guy by the name of Chris Thomas, who back in I think it was 2009 or 10 when I came across the interviews of him. He was an Akashic reader, for instance, and he was talking galactic level. It was a few years before Andrew came into my life, and he was talking about Akashic records and stuff. So I had a very good experiential sort of thing of different people that had different abilities and accesses and stuff like that. So I had a lot of cross-referencing going on, and so I was sort of ready to rock when the challenge of Andrew came along. And back in mid-2018, there was a conversation we had that was like an hour or whatever, and I spent, 40, 50 hours making the show that was related to a solar system update. So if you go back to probably the time and space sort of content on his channel, the time and space in 2018 update was relative to Earth and our solar system crossing the galactic central plane, right? So the frequencies on a fundamental and a big level of our region have all shifted, and if our solar system is entering a new area in the galaxy, and the galaxy is massive, then these are really, really big things, all right? So it was like there was a big energy potential brewing, and like the fundamental in me, which I've known, is like, do your healing, all right? What Andrew was saying for a long time is Earth is going to need 1 billion healers, so there's going to be a staggering level of volume of healing that we're all going to do. So I mean, that he said that in Galactic History 1 and for many, many years way back then. And I know me, like, one variable you can control is going to seek healers and stuff like that. You can determine your fate and make it a lot better by eliminating gaps and resolving stuff. So that's why I've focused on the infinite potential healing of late, to give over 4 or 5 hours, whatever, with people, like many different modalities all combined and stuff, to give them space to have, mega healings all at once and accelerate that. So that's where I fit in now, because I see it's the most potential, and out of the algorithm of everything I've done, by doing extensive healing, it reveals the David that you are and stuff. So that's where I'm sort of primed to do what I'm doing, and I feel very comfortable offering this next variable in my progression, doing these sort of video sessions and teachings, so you can discern me on every level you want, alright? But also I invite you to, with everything I do, just, you pick up stuff with me, it's like, yeah, cool, I could have issues, but what if what you're picking up is just your reflection from me, because I do all this galactic level stuff, and trust me, I've got plenty of issues that I'm working on, and I'll work through them and stuff, but don't allow yourself to believe that other people have the issues, and use everyone as your mirror, alright? So that's a healing suggestion and stuff, alright? But getting back to what I'm talking about is, that show was really significant, that release, and if you've seen it, awesome. If you haven't, I've offered the path, but what it did, it indicated there was a big energy shift and a fundamental. So what I'm just going to do is show you a sketch that I've just drawn now relative, say, imagine, you know, the 54 million years of incarnation war that we're in, alright? So that's what it's all about, the incarnation war. That's why stuff is done to our children to lock down us, and as soon as you come out of the womb and birth, it's on like Donkey Kong. I don't know what you're like, but I had a very brutal birth, alright? And I didn't want to come, I was a week late and stuff, and I've met quite a few people through the sessions that have been like, if you remember the movie Look Who's Talking, it's like, put me back in, and I actually had this really amazing healing in 2015, and I remember I saw myself as a golden child, but I also saw myself in the womb, like the golden energy and stuff, and how safe and nurturing it felt, and how much I did not freaking want to come, because I could see this whole apparatus of system just waiting to fuck me up, alright? And trust me, very few people know how bad my birth was. I've used it as an opportunity to discern, because, for instance, if people have this attitude I'm very sexual and stuff like that, it's bullshit, because you don't know what's happened to me. I'm actually, in many ways, like a monk because of what's happened to me, because all those sort of experiences that most people seek aren't actually that pleasurable for me, alright? So I'll just leave that there, because I've been brutalized on a level very few can and have in this world, particularly in the Western world, alright? So I don't seek those things, and that's where it's self-consciousness and stuff like that. So when for instance, I met this lady called Maya, and she was from Vietnam, and she's been a great ally for me when it was very tough, and supportive of me, and very high level. She was a premature children sort of birthed head nurse that looked after the premature babies who were very lucky to live, and she obviously did a lot of work on them and kept them alive and stuff, and she was a Vietnamese refugee, so she's in her 70s now and stuff, but she was very angry in her 50s, and she went and did Krav Maga, like the Israeli street fighting, and became a master in that in her 50s, so she's pretty amazing, very aware, and, you know, what she said to me once in one of our conversations was, when she was a child, one of her uncles, she was aware one of her uncles would actually fight with swords and stuff like that. So I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but it's a cool story. And what she knew about him is that in the sword fighting wars that they would go through, so her uncle was very old, so this was like in the late 19th century and stuff, is that if the men would abstain from sex for a month, then their body could repair, like they could get stabbed and the technology would kick in, and if they had sex sort of stuff, that would be an issue and stuff. So they had to be like warrior monks, because from the guy's perspective, the creative sexual energy could go to redirect to defend themselves and recover and stuff. So yeah, I've always known that in me, like redeploying that energy into the defense and stuff is an aspect there, and I'm very, very careful in that respect, alright? Like, I'm professional, like I said, like going into client sites and dealing with clients and that. So, yeah. So say if you're picking that up with me, it's probably not me, okay? On all the levels, because I budget every life force, because holding the space in this reality to do the Galactic Special Forces level work and hold all the knowledge and stuff is hugely demanding and stuff. And then lately I found out a lot of people have actually been calling me out for help on the other realms, and I'm just like an avatar. I wake up fucking destroyed and like exhausted and stuff, and all this other stuff is going on with my higher self and other people. So I'm just sort of anchoring myself here in the 3D to do whatever's needed and stuff. So that's where I can say I'm very neutral, because perhaps I'm called into stuff to help resolve it and all that we actually need to hold a neutrality about the resolution that's going on here and just hold the space. And I know my ally Captain Marvel out there, we've been kicking ass and it's been really full on. So thank you for your support, my friend, and yeah, just a shout out to her. Can't be public, unfortunately. She's pretty epic, and it'll be up to her whatever she does. But this is a shout out to you through time, all you amazing beings that can't be public and are battling and holding your space around the world and doing major work that no one can see. And yeah, I know there's a lot of you, so a lot of my work is actually to those in the future and stuff. So yeah, that's a bit of a tangent. Maybe I cut it out, but what I'm getting to is the responsibility of being here and the way I have it. Like I said in Galactic Special Forces Part 7, like I activated this girl and there was like all these potential deaths around us. I said 6 and I thought it was 6, and I thought there were 4 that were okay. There was one on the beach that needed help, and then there was this one that died and stuff, but the news articles said 5, so maybe I was wrong. Like maybe my idea of what I recall was incorrect. So I just wanted to put that in. If you've watched Part 7 of Galactic Special Forces, it was actually 5 on the news, not 6 that I said. But yeah, I find it interesting, like the number of that was significant, so I'm interested why I think 6 where it was 5. Like I've gone to parks and there's trees where there's not meant to be sort of thing, trees that I'm very familiar with and stuff. So some funny things have been going on, right? So I'm waffling on a bit. So I'm going to show you this image that I drew, right? And you imagine this is over a very, very long period, and it's like the stepping down of our dimensional, like Earth, like from Andrew's perspective, it's a 7th dimensional galactic sea planet. If you watch my Infinite Potential 1 and 2, where I talk about the womb chakra, which I work with and stuff. And so I'm just going to show you this image. So imagine this side up here is the stepping down of our dimensional levels, right? So we've gone from 7 to 4 essentially. So it's been very high. There's been all this intergalactic battles and war, like people want to like species want to control the Earth and stuff. So over time and eras, like the 3 Lemurias and 3 Atlantises sort of stuff, and all the incarnation wars and the through time and stuff like that. This is a very, very simple representation of it. But in order to control us where we're at now, there's been this grinding down, all right, over time. Because say in our past, and maybe I'll show you the images via photo, or maybe I'll show you just the book here, but I've got this really cool book of Coptic art and I just love it. And it goes into the, like, well, I'll finish this, alright? So yeah, imagine that bottom line is 54 million years, and there are all the different eras of civilization and stuff, and like it's pretty simple, but the lines up are maybe dimensional levels, and it's I'm just trying to get to the point really quick. So you imagine this is like 54 million years, Lemuria, and all the pressure on bringing us down and down and down, because we get to here, right? Say I mentioned that show with Andrew and stuff, where it was like we crossed the galactic central plane. So see, there's a little slight uptick, all right, at the end. So there's you imagine the galaxies revolving around and round and round, and it comes to a point where we can get to a period in our solar system where the energy is shifted, all right? So what it felt like after that show, and he said it was like quite significant, and the foundational energy of the region was very, very different, all right? So the little arrow is like the control now to maintain us in that 3D 5 cents box that I've drawn a lot. So I'll just bring up the other image. So this is an image I've used quite a lot, right? And that's the 3D 5 cents box that we're in, and the multidimensional sort of stuff that goes outside of that. So you see that the narrative works. Whatever bullshit is accepted in the narrative that fits within that is accepted. Anything that goes outside that, whether it's like conspiratorial or all that sort of stuff, it's targeted and smashed, alright? And what I said at the start of this is there's an effort for control, but then there's also the fear of the reaction of when we become aware, alright? So I'll go back to this, and then there's a potential of a returning of that, whether it goes in a linear line back up to 7D or whatever, who knows, alright? But the metaphor is that we've entered a new area of space and there's a potential rise in our frequency, okay? So what I'll do, I'll show you another image that I've showed many times, okay? So I've shown this one quite a bit, alright? So you imagine that's us in the 3D 5 cents, and that's our DNA, alright? And these are all our potentials and abilities, okay? And that's us in our higher frequency potential, where all these gifts are all in our abilities. They're just innate in us. And so if you're a believer in the narrative and you don't believe where we have multiple lives and all that, you totally accept what the system says, and we have the potential to co-create this for ourselves. It's actually an invitation, it's just data. That's why it's not all totally suppressed. There is an outlet and you can find it, but just the main sort of sources of information, wisdom and nourishment these days, they're quite deliberate in their algorithms of supporting everything that's not that, right? And recently there's a very big narrative about, say, things like the vaccinations, and you can't go against that, right? And there's a big smashing of that, and I'm being very careful with what I say, because I know, you know, all our words are sort of transcribed and then they can add them to the algorithms and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm also doing here, what I'm wanting to do here is an appreciation of why that might be a strategy, alright? And I'm offering a invitation for you to contemplate that it comes from a level of fear of how we're going to react when they find out, the majority find out how what's been going on and stuff, and there's a huge justification for victimization going on, right? And when people play the victim, they justify using leverage to manipulate you, and a lot of people have a greed agenda related to victimization because they want something from it, when you know from a energetic level, if I show you another image, if you play the victim, it's an opening in your energy field and you can get manipulated. So you see a lot of people playing the victim, they seem like psychopaths, alright? They're wanting something and then they get manipulated into that, and no one's got defense. So from a Galactic Special Forces level, I don't really freaking allow the victimhood or seeking sympathy or all that sort of bullshit to come in, because it's like, it's about your defense, absolute. You know, what I said about the sexuality and stuff like that, there's a lot in the world that you can't actually do, and what will happen is people will play all the victim and stuff on you to get you to open up your field and get compassionate and stuff, and that's their agendas, you know, they want something from you, and it's like, you just got to watch that, alright? And even in your field, it might trigger the shit that's in them to open them up to play the victim, to get leverage over you, to get you to do their will, and it's like, no, alright? So just remember all that. That's just a bit of a teaching that I've been meaning to do about the victim state, like society rewards the victim, because then people can get puppeted and then they can get compromised and influence you and manipulate you and undermine your life and stuff. And trust me, I've played that a lot, right? I'm a graduate on being a byproduct of what happens in your life when you empower victims to get leverage over you and stuff, right? So if I go back to that other image to see this, alright? And I mentioned Galactic Special Forces 7 before, okay, is in that, Richard Alan Miller talked about a lady that was doing studies, and it was about homo luminous sort of potential and stuff, how we could be light bodies and energy and stuff like that. And in the video I did a bit earlier on that affected my channel a bit, the subtle effects of solar flares, with a bit of a cool clip from Ian R. Crane, the very first video I loaded onto my channel, so I suggest that. He talked about Albert Velardo, I forget his name, sorry, off the top of my head, but that was a story about Ian R. Crane in 2009 going over to Peru and having an interaction with the Guero, which are a tribe that hid for like a very long time, for 25 generations, not in height but in another dimension. That's the way I see it, and they were camouflaged. Then they revealed themselves, and they're talking about homo luminous, about us as energy beings and stuff. And there's a really cool Star Trek episode, which maybe I'll put the clip in if I can find it and organize it, where a species that like, this was Star Trek The Next Generation, so it was like the one with Patrick Stewart, sorry, I forgot his name. I had a blank. I can see his image, like I've got the image, and they introduced this, they got involved with a species where there was a very dominant aspect of society trying to suppress the nature of their evolution of a species that were going light body and stuff. And there was a clip that used to be on YouTube, or it might still be on there, that was all about that, and I might include it here just so you can see it. And so the metaphor is that these sort of people are saying we're going to something relative to light and stuff like that. My attitude, okay, is in these areas, right now we're grounded down like that. If I go back to the other image, right now the majority of us are grounded down like that, so we don't have our perceptions and stuff like that. But our natural state is actually very expanded if we go back to the other image. So imagine up here, we're naturally very expanded in 7th, 6th, 5th, and even maybe 4th dimensional space, alright? Well, we have all our talents, and the grounding down of war and the locking down of the earth and settling down and all that, suppression of all the womb chakras and stuff, has generated a frequency field that the reality we're in is very locked down, so we don't have our abilities. So me bringing in those two teachings plus the video and stuff was there's a lot of people that have an idea that we're going to go to light and all that sort of stuff, but when you think about society and stuff, I'll just put this down. There's a saying how we're enlightened and enlightenment and stuff, and what my attitude on that is in the past, the natural human state was to be very aware. So we could see the auras and stuff like that around people. So if I show you so I'm just going to show you some images of a book I have with me. It's a bit hard, it's a very big book, but it's Coptic art, and it goes back over the last 1,000 to 2,000 years, and the art shows that the enlightened beings, like the highly level spiritual beings, had a crown, like the aura around them and stuff, right? So I'll just show you a couple clips. So maybe showing the book isn't the actual way to do it. What I might do is actually just overlay some images of an example of what I'm saying, like the Coptic art, where the artists with their rendition seeing people with an aura around their head, like the golden crown and stuff. And to me, alright, in our past, our awareness was a lot higher than what we are now. Like, there was no EMF and all that sort of stuff. Like stuff in the water and all that. It took a very long time to grind us down to the 3D and stuff. So it's not that we're going to something new, we're going to how we were, alright, and how we've been, and our society now, you know, like the absence of awareness of past lives and all that, the cultural beliefs and stuff that have co-created the absence of awareness. It's like, it's against our belief system that we are actually like that, when actually that's the natural state from my perspective. So yeah, so say in society at the moment there's a lot related to the medication of us and imposing it on us and stuff, my attitude is that the actual system is quite scared of us, right? And it's scared of our reaction and our tantrums and stuff, and all these tantrums and like vengeance and violence and all that sort of stuff are actually being triggered to justify the locking down, alright? Because the reaction that we do is actually what they're trying to generate to actually justify actions that check, like chess moves and stuff. So the key out of it is to recognize it and just appreciate it and disarm that need to be polarized in any way, and just realize, look, I'm not going to do anything to you, I just want to get over this shit. I'm here to help resolve, and I'm galactic last fucking mimsy to help be the galactic janitors of all the crap and resolution and stuff. And trust that your DNA and all that is absolutely freaking incredible. You are the contract holder for it. Nothing can be done to it unless you give it permission. So think about permissions, it's feelings, alright? Like what feelings are you giving to the actions of the system and stuff to allow it to integrate into you? There's a consent, alright? So work on that consent. And if there is violations, then you can pull them into the spiritual God equity and make it up a revocation, where I've sort of, with sessions of late, like a lot of people have had mega violations and we've had fun with them because it's like, you've created a karmic debt in my DNA by your actions. I get to call that debt. That's my asset, alright? The system puts debt into your DNA. It's not a burden, it's actually an asset in a way. It's weighing you down because it's so precious, and you can call that, and you can call that in. That's where I said that in the Infinite and Beyond with Nikki ages ago, because she deals with ancestral karma and stuff, and it's like, it's not a debt, it's actually an asset, but we have to see ourselves as a bank, and we can call that debt in at the system and owes us, because the system has needed us to carry the weight of the debt, right? And it's, you flip it and you realize, I'm going to call you in now, you need to pay up. I'm going to call that debt in. So what I'm saying is, like, going back, the energies, like that show I mentioned, the 2018 solar system update, they brewed a lot of energy, alright? Like the subtle change back to a higher dimensional level is coming in. So what's happened is majority of humanity haven't healed, alright? So there's a external variable, this frequency that's encouraging healing. Oh, you're not going to heal? Well, that collective of unhealed stuff is, what's the byproduct of that? Oh, that energy of that unresolved is a potential that gestates. And let's say a virus gets germinated, all right? Whether it's man-made or whatever, like, to me, Earth gave it the green light to be in the reality, and it stimulated a lot of change and a lot of shaking up of stuff, and that's where my attitude is, freaking get on the healing and resolve that, all right? Get out in front of it, get proactive and resolve that, so it's not a variable in you and stuff. And that's been my attitude all along. It's like, I'll be good. I know what happens when I don't heal. It's like an avenue of attack, all right? So if I bring up that image again, like, see, the majority of humanity have gaps because they haven't healed, and all that energy can be accessed and brewed with to create, say, a mega virus and stuff that influences society and stuff. And I don't want to get into a debate or perceptions of the virus and stuff, but you see, as a metaphor motivator for people to change and seek something different for themselves. So it's getting dark, sorry, I've been waffling on quite a bit. I've tried to make this quite short, but just see, from my perspective, alright, there's a brewing of high frequency of our potential, and it's trying to so use technology to prevent that, which is the inevitable state. You imagine, like, the scales of energy coming in and stuff like that. It's pretty futile, but what I'm offering is, what if there's a fear of our polarity that's justifying the actions at the moment, and if we sort of appreciate that, we you know, like we let things go and we just don't fall into the polarity of, you know, creating all this, the negative stuff and that, you know, like I've been doing Galactic Special Forces and it can be perceived that I'm here to be hardcore and that, and I am, right? I'm not here to mess around, but what if you take a different attitude and you realize, oh, it's they're fearful, accommodate that, and what if we have no need to, you know, seek retribution for violations, we just like, we appreciate it and stuff, and just see the big scales going on here that are far outweigh whatever can be created. And that's why there's this sort of oppression kicking in where it's like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and you've got to do that in 6 months time or whatever. It's because the things are changing so much, that stuff isn't going to be able to catch up with it. There'll be consequences to it, and the distortion of the control, like I said, will germinate other potentials, right, that will blow back on that effort that's artificial, that's imposing itself and stuff. So the key is to, from my perspective, do the healing, like invest into awareness, like all the knowledge and stuff, like I said, maybe go back over all the stuff that you get. Maybe I haven't correctly made the point here, but I'm seeing like I'm offering sort of foundational stuff to see what's going on, and yeah, it's us going back to how we've been in the past, and we've just forgotten it because it might be over 7 generations and stuff, and it's not even in our DNA memory and the consciousness, but it's deep down, and most people don't have access to that. So I hope this is sort of helpful. I'm going to sort of wind it up here. It's getting quite dark and the birds are telling me to get out of the way, their food and stuff. So yeah, just contemplate that there is a big foundational fundamental going on that's vast, and there's going to be a lot of drama and a lot of resolution going on and stuff, and just like in that flow diagram that I have in the intro and stuff, just find your way. Just hold the energy, and a lot of you are probably in the background and you haven't found your purpose and stuff, but trust me, being aware of this stuff and having an appreciation of this sort of foundational stuff, you're affecting the grid, right? You're affecting the morphogenic field, and what you're aware of is like a beacon for others to tune into it a bit easier. So yeah, if you're in trouble and stuff like that, I hope this is helpful. Hope this helps you shift and see on a bigger level and shift your emotional state. What I'm getting at the moment is there's a lot of migration energy on the surface of Earth, and this is a variable a lot of people don't get, and I realized this a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago, is that the majority of people are unhappy at the moment, right? So that unhappiness energy is justifying change, and it's a lateral change, it's not doing the healing yet, all right? So they're looking to move and go somewhere else where they might have better freedoms or comforts or quality of life and stuff. So all over the world there's this migration going on and projecting into the other locations. So if you're in a location like me, I can feel a lot of energy coming here, and it's another level that's going on. So people are projecting their stuff and looking to, you know, a lot of people have abilities and they don't know it. So if you're an anchor for the region like I am and stuff, you might be picking up a lot of energy, you don't know it. That's sort of a variable going on. There's all this migration stuff going on, and people are bringing their stuff, and it can come through time and all that sort of stuff. So just hold on to yourself and keep doing the healing and do the energy hygiene sort of stuff. The other thing is, say in places like lockdown where Australia is at the moment, there's a lot of energy where people go and they're hugely uncertain. They're, you know, they might have psychic parasites on them and stuff because all that stuff has been going pretty hardcore. So if you go into places like supermarkets and that, people can bring a lot of their energy, and they can be very, very energetic hygiene, sort of dense and all that sort of stuff. So just be aware of that, like maintain yourself, maintain your hygiene, like master your emotions and stuff. And yeah, if you're in lockdown, really, really take advantage of it, you know, accelerate your development, and yeah, just hang in there. It's probably, like I've said, a lot of the time it's going to be endurance game and stuff. So yeah, they're just a couple of interesting variables going on. All right, so it's dark, you can hardly see me now, I've been going quite a long time. I hope this helps. I hope this is quite simple. I hope you sort of contemplate that foundational sort of stuff of the big overall frequencies going on, and redeploy it, like revisit some of my stuff and see if you get that sort of appreciation. And just, if it switches you and subtly it takes you to be a bit less polarized and passive and observing and appreciating the big dance going on, and see what happens with that. Like, explore the other side of where you're at now, and hang in there, guys. I want to thank you very much, like, greatly for finding me. I'm quite hidden and quite dark now, like metaphor of going on, and it's been a long time for me to get to this point and be comfortable with speaking my truth and sharing it and valuing me. Like I said many times in the Galactic Special Forces Part 1, I could perceive all the people that were needing me as a variable. So if you're one of them that I perceived, I thank you for finding me and gaining something from this, and it helps to be you, your future infinite potential self, alright? If I do the diagram. If this information helps you get to the next level and just see things from a totally different perspective, a bit like Dead Poet Society, then awesome. Sorry if it's dark, it's a bit late. So thank you once again, and see you next time, guys. I'll look to get Galactic Special Forces Part 8 and Future Infinite Potentials done as well. So to see this as a reality foundational sort of information to help let you perceive and contribute. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Now, listen, the Quero make it very clear that we have to behave as though none of this is based in any kind of reality. We shouldn't have an attachment to this happening. We've got to focus on bringing about the changes that we want to see in the physical empirical material realm. And if we do that and we visualize, then the rest will unfold naturally. Rudolf Steiner made this observation. He said, "He who would create the new must be able to endure the passing of the old in full tranquility." This is why I said this morning, when I was talking about the stuff about having the food and the water and doing the stuff with any assets you got, the gold, it's so that you can free yourself. You don't have to worry about the foraging. You can free yourself to focus on the things that really matter. One of the positions that it's probably a good place to be right now is, if you have nothing, you are in great shape. Because you have no attachment to anything. And I know it's a sort of, it's a regurgitation of even more ancient wisdom, but as somebody once said, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for the rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. This is simply a reference to attachment. There's nothing wrong in having accoutrements. It only becomes a problem if there's an attachment to them. So one can argue that if you have nothing, you are relieved of that burden. If you have assets, there's nothing wrong in having them, there's nothing wrong in protecting them. But don't be too attached to them. Whilst we need them, great. But maybe we're coming to a time when we don't need them. I think this is a truly exciting period. It's a massively exciting period. And how did I find Alberto Villoldo initially? Because I was becoming aware that we were going through an evolutionary process, and I came up with the term Homo luminous. And I thought, well, that's a good term. Wonder if anybody's ever thought of that. Googled it, Alberto Villoldo, 20 years ago.
Dr. Charlotte Bach at the Warburg did a doctoral thesis under several of us.
In Germany?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And her title was called Homo Mutant, Homo Lumen, where she, that was her doctoral thesis, where she discusses the next evolutionary stage of man as a light body, where we wrote books called The Diamond Body, having to do with geometric places of consciousness. You know, it goes on a lot of levels, just like the Matrix does. There's many, many, many layers of understanding what's going on.
I can't breathe.
It's come back to me, Beverly. I know who I am. What I am.
Ready all weapons.
You will no longer harm these people, Sunad.
Fire upon that ship.
Do not be afraid. I won't hurt you.
Kill him, Captain. He's evil.
You could learn from these people, Sunad. They do not fear me.
They don't know how dangerous you are. You and the others like you.
That is what you and the other leaders have maintained for generations, but it is not true. Captain, my species is on the verge of a wondrous evolutionary change, a transmutation beyond our physical being. I am the first of my kind to approach this metamorphosis. They tried to convince us it was a sickness we would never survive, that the pain and energy pulses would kill us. They claimed we were dangerous, so they destroyed anyone who exhibited the signs of the transfiguration.
We were protecting our society.
By murdering us, you saw the mutations as a threat to your authority. You were terrified of something you couldn't understand. Some suspected that what was happening to them was not evil. 4 of us decided to flee Zelkan and let the metamorphosis take its course. You hunted us down, killed the others, but I survived. With the help of kind and generous people. There is nothing to fear. You can join me. All Zalkonians can. Let me show you.
Don't touch me.
As you wish. But others will listen now that you can no longer prevent me from telling them the truth. Those who are willing will follow me.
Sunad is back aboard the Zalkonian vessel, Captain.
My people are about to embark on a new realm, a new plane of existence, thanks to you.
It is our mission to seek out life in all forms. We are privileged to have been present at the emergence of a new species.
Beverly, you gave me life, and more. I do not have the words for my gratitude, or my sorrow at leaving you.
It's interesting to watch the change of subtle thought forms, of getting it in one's mind's eye of how it all works. And that place is where it happens, because Gowan said that it wasn't dimethyltryptamine that was the important drug which gave us a sense of aliens and God and things above man, but the lysergic acid amides that were the ones that connected the dot that gave what Crowley called aha. Mm-hmm. That ability of connecting one point to another and seeing how it works, because when you do that, that's where it happens. It isn't about the physics.
Amazing.
So everything I've done, like the Galactic Special Forces, all that, it's in the algorithm of my Akashic record and my frequency, my DNA and all that sort of stuff. So it's there. So it's like I'm a codex of codes and stuff. So whatever code the individual needs, they get, sort of thing. Whatever's the right time of their journey and stuff in their consciousness Tetris. And this information, it's funny, it's from my perspective, I'm giving you the answers at the end of the like, say, math book and stuff, and I don't know if schools use books anymore, but they used to give us textbooks with the answers in the end, and you weren't meant to cheat. But because I'm giving you the answers on many things, it probably won't make sense because you don't have the context, because to understand the context, you do have to go through that consciousness Tetris, and I might be overlaying an image of a competition of Tetris, so you get, like, unless you get the right blocks for the lower levels, you're not going to comprehend this sort of stuff, and that's all cool. Trust me, the discovery process is awesome here, all right? It's one of the gifts we have in this unawareness realm, and that. So I love that journey of discovery. It's such a gift to get new realizations, and you get that level clear, and then you see things from a totally different perspective, and I love that shift that you get, especially when you're wrong, all right?
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a God that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.